Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I the Dragon, Cool and Beautiful Rabbit Hole Lore and Fran, the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. So lately, I've been seeing a big line coming from the gaming media, from gaming YouTubers, from the establishment that the Nintendo Switch is done. It's old, it's tired, it's time to be replaced with an Xbox or a PlayStation. That's typically the line I've been seeing from a lot of YouTubers, and I don't think it's genuine. It comes off like a lot like the nobody likes JRPGs crowd, or Nintendo doesn't produce enough games, or like it takes too long. It's taking too long to make Tears of the Kingdom. Like it feels like a really inorganic, like fake campaign to try and rile up some controversy about Nintendo going to into the new year. And it's an interesting situation because we actually have a long history of companies doing that, of doing this, right? Remember back in 2009, right? The Wii was like selling like hotcakes. It was on top of the world, like the most popular console in the industry by far. And what did the gaming press do? Oh, Wii is over. It can't compete long term. It's not powerful enough. Like Nintendo needs to release a Wii HD. And then the Wii U gets announced, and like the same people are like pretending that like the console isn't appealing and that it has all these problems, and like they're not even sure if it's a real console. Like the Wii U was exactly what these people said they wanted, and they rejected it, right? And of course, like going into the Switch, we kind of had like similar things where like, oh man, it's not going to be able to compete. It needs to be like as powerful as the PS4 or the Xbox One. Didn't happen, and it still outsold both, right? It's outselling the PS5 and Xbox Series X now, right? As well. And now that the Switch is dominating the industry, we're seeing the same trick used again. Oh, the Switch is old; it can't compete. Meanwhile, it just released Pokemon, which I think is like the best-selling game of the year. You know, it has like all these great titles. They were like banger after banger all year long. 2022 was like one of my favorite years in gaming ever. I would say I was like over the moon about some of this stuff, and the fact that so many people like think the Switch is dying, or that it's becoming irrelevant, or that it can't compete, it's laughable. It is downright laughable. If anything, it's the other way around. I've talked about this for a while, where it feels like the other consoles just can't compete with what Nintendo is doing. Like the PS5 and the Series X aren't really taking off, and nobody wants to admit it. Nobody wants to acknowledge it. Nobody wants to like. Nobody wants to like. Bring it up, but like we've reached the point where like having a more powerful piece of hardware isn't really a big draw anymore. Like, what major exclusive games are you going to get on the PS5 and the Series X? Essentially nothing, right? Like, we can kind of see this. Like, the most popular games in the world right now are stuff like Fortnite, stuff like Valorant, like League of Legends, like stuff that's like free to play or like subscriber based or something like that. Like, or like relatively cheap, like affordable indie games, right? Like we've passed the point where people are bamboozled by like new graphics and like deep cinematic stories. Like people just want fun, entertaining games. And the Switch is the only console that provides that. There is no noticeable difference between Switch titles and their counterparts, even though like nobody wants to admit it. And it's getting more and more pathetic seeing like certain groups of people try and push some narrative that like the Switch is on the way out, or it's becoming irrelevant, or that it's obsolete. They've been saying that since before it was even announced, right? Like remember back, like Nintendo has been doomed since 1886. Like that's been the meme for a long time, and it seems like this is another variant of that, where like Nintendo Switch is literally the most popular gaming platform in the world right now, but you still have people saying that Nintendo is doomed for some arbitrary, artificial reason. And again, like how many YouTubers have I seen this year try to say that like there's nothing on Switch that they're excited for playing? Like how many times do they come out saying that like, oh, I'm not interested in Kirby or Pokemon or like Mario Strikers Battle League or Nintendo Switch Sports or any of this stuff. Like how many times have they like come out like derided every single Nintendo game that came out, like Splatoon 3, you know, Live Alive, Mario Rabbids. I myself did not play Mario Rabbids, but I really need to get on that. Like every single game that came out this year was unique, distinct, and like a lot of fun. And yet somehow there's still this coordinated attempt to try and pretend otherwise, pretend there's something wrong with Nintendo's console lineup. And it's just not true. It never has been true, but I think it's becoming more and more transparent and more obvious that these people are completely full of it. They have no idea what they're talking about. They have no idea what makes a good game, what makes it compelling, what the audience responds to. And I think we're seeing that reflect more and more in the general sales charts and the general like player base. Like people are big fans of Nintendo Switch, and I expect to continue seeing it dominate the other platforms in the very near future.